Robert dismounted the horse with the baby still tucked away in his sling. He looked down into the dark, chocolate eyes of the boy. His heart was broken. "I failed you," he judged himself. Robert picked the child up and cradled him. "I'm sorry," he said to Babe. He looked at the man and his wife and knew he could not give them a proper burial. The snow was too high and the earth was frozen. He laid the man and woman down, joined their hands together, and covered them in the snow. Robert said a silent prayer and hurried back to the campsite. "Robert!" Iscariot called out. "Hey, Isk! I've prayed and confessed and drank from the river. Where have you been?" his brother queried. Iscariot hadn't noticed the small child in Robert's sling. And then he heard the babe fuss, eager to leave Robert's cramped space. "A child?" Iscariot spoke in disbelief. Why do you have a child?" he asked, still baffled. "I could not sleep last night, and by some miracle I found him lying in the forest," he told his brother. "And his parents?" Iscariot questioned. "I found them too, only I was too late to help them," Robert spoke solemnly. "They perished in the storm." "What do you plan to do with this child?" "I haven't decided," he said, but Robert's mind was made. "Did you fill your vial, Isk?" "I have. I'm waiting on you for once," Iscariot grinned. "You're right. I'm sorry. I'll be quick." Robert knelt beside Wisgabitha and began to confess of all his wrongdoings and asked the Spirit to have mercy upon him. He undressed and entered the mystic river. The water did not rage, nor did it glide downstream with grace, but instead was still, motionless, as if the heart of the river were no longer beating. Robert submerged himself, and when he exited the water, his heart felt full and his mind was cloudless. He looked over at the boy who was snuggled close to Iscariot by the tame fire that was crackling the impurities of the wood. He walked over to him and uncovered the boy from his fur and sweater and walked with him to the river. The pace of the water began to quicken as Robert stepped inside. He submerged himself and the infant under the glow of the holy water, and the river began to frenzy. While Robert and the child were under the roaring of the river, he looked at the child, and the child looked at him. The water raged above, but Robert felt tranquility. He stepped out of the water with the boy and said to him, "You are my son, in whom I am well pleased. From this day until your last day, you will become known as Idus Darroch, son of Robert and Lagertha Darroch, brother to Lorena, and my son yet to be." He kissed the child's eyes and clothed him, protecting him from the frigid air. Iscariot was looking on and could not believe what he had heard. "You're keeping the boy as your own?" He was dumbfounded. "I am," Robert acknowledged. "And what will Lagertha say of this, Robert?" his brother pressed. "She will love him as her own." "Will she?" Iscariot continued. "I do not doubt it for a second," he asserted. Robert dressed and filled a vial for his son back home. "Let's pack and get going. It's nearly dark and I've made us late," he said begrudgingly. The brothers quickly gathered their gear and readied the horses for the night's hike, back to the little chapel from which they'd come. The earth had turned away from the sun, and the moon shined its face upon the earth. Robert told his brother of what had happened the night of the storm, and all he had done during the day after it. Iscariot had insisted he give the child to someone who could not bear any children, or to Diliachtlan, as keeping him as his own would seem suspicious. "Don't be ridiculous, Isk. People know who I am. I would never betray my wife," he told his brother. "You've been absent quite frequently this past year. It will be easy for someone to assume you unfaithful as they see you coming home with a child that's not Lagertha's." Iscariot voiced his opinion. "I appreciate your concern, Iscariot, but the boy will be my son, from this day to his last." He concluded the discussion in a stern manner. Soon the moon fell from the sky and the sun kissed the earth to fill it with its brilliance. It was past noon by the time they reached the sanctuary. Both men hadn't eaten in 5 days and barely slept on the voyage from Wisgabitha to the humble house of worship. Iscariot headed inside to shower and rest for the remainder of the day, as Robert finished caring for the horses with Idas at his side. Apsal Sinan greeted Iscariot as he entered the church and then proceeded outside to welcome Robert. Sinan uttered to him, "I see you've brought back a friend." Robert turned, as he had not heard Sinan approach. "I did, Apsal. It's been quite an interesting 2 days," he said exhaustedly.
"We welcome all who journeyed to Tagos Spear. Go and wash up, lad. Let the caretakers tend to the horses. We can talk of your experience when you've had some rest,"
Sinan insisted. "Apsal, do you by chance have mother's milk here? I've done the best I can to feed the child with what little was available."
"Here, give me the boy. He's in good hands. Now go and rest. I can barely see the whites of your eyes,"
Sinan told him once more. With his eyes struggling to stay open, Robert went inside to bathe away the sweat and dirt from the ride back from Wisgabitha. He nearly fell asleep as he laid inside the milky water. Robert left the bath as his skin was starting to prune. He entered his room, lit a small fire and fell onto the bed. He shut his deep green eyes and let dream take his mind.